Good question. And right now, you may have heard the news that Iran has entered into an agreement with China, a long term strategic agreement, which involves a very significant amount of Chinese investment into Iran to the tune of tens or hundreds of billions of dollars. And so that is the concern for India, and the media has been very vocal and shrill about it. And the media has been saying that India and Iran are natural allies, etc. So the Indian government has messed up by forcing the Iranians into the Chinese hands, into China's arms. So how much is the truth to it? So what is the relationship between India and Iran? So like I have said in the history sessions, India and Iran are essentially the same people. We are the same ethnicity. The Persians came from India, from the Rigvedic Parshva clan. And so they are essentially a descendant of ancient Indians. And for a very long time, India and Persia had a very good relationship as cordial neighbors and like faraway cousins. And this started changing about 1400 or so years ago with the Arabic conquest of Iran. So Iran was overrun by the Arabs in no time at all. It was a very quick and comprehensive conquest. And what happened very quickly in Iran was a complete change of culture. So the Iranians became part of the sphere of influence of the Arabs. They became part of the Islamic world, and they essentially started looking upon India as an alien culture, as a very different culture. So this is when the first proper split between India and Persia happened. And then the relationship was not very good. It was rather antagonistic. The Iranians used to be employed as many Iranians, Persians were employed by the Mughals in their courts as administrators, officers, etc., etc. So they were essentially agents of the foreign occupying force. And then the straw that broke the camel's back was Nadir Shah's invasion of India, in which he committed unbelievable atrocities. He drenched Delhi in a river of blood and took away a great deal of treasure from Delhi. So, in the past 1,000 or so years, India and Iran have had a rather bad relationship. Today, the people of Iran kind of look upon India as a country that was defeated in the past, as a conquered land and a conquered people. And there is a sort of superiority complex to some extent in some quarters of Iran. Now, let's look at Iran geopolitically. So the question of India and Iran being natural allies doesn't arise on a cultural level, at least. Today, the people of Iran are a very different culture. They're very nice people, by the way, very friendly, very, very good people. But culturally, they are very different from the people of India. So the natural allies argument doesn't really hold. Now, geopolitically, what is Iran's conduct like? What are their ambitions? What are their geopolitical ambitions? So let's look at how they have conducted their affairs in the past. So they were once an American satellite under Mohammad Mossadegh. They were essentially being used for oil by the Americans. And then you had the Shah Pahlavi. Mossadegh was not an American puppet. Pahlavi was an American puppet. Mossadegh was, I believe, a democratically elected leader of Iran who was overthrown, and Shah Reza Pahlavi became the king of Iran. He was an American puppet. Then he was overthrown in the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, when the Ayatollahs came to power. And that is the regime that's currently in Iran. So Iran is a very active geopolitical player. It has, despite its relative small size, despite its small economy, despite being under incredible sanctions, it still has a strong military. It has a very powerful presence outside its borders. It has a very strong spy agency, and it interferes and tries to shape the affairs of various nations. There is a very strong Iran and Saudi Arabia rivalry. Iran has a very strong undercover presence in Iraq, in Syria. It's arming the Houthis who are fighting the Saudis. So there is a presence in Yemen as well. And Iran aspires to be a nuclear weapons power. So this is a country with oversized geopolitical ambitions. It essentially aspires to resuscitate the Achaemenid Empire, the Hakshamanish Empire. It wants to become an imperial power again. Now, imagine this country, Iran, with nuclear weapons. Do you think it will behave in the same nice way as it does today? Hell no. Iran will be a very different beast if it acquires nuclear weapons. Nobody will be safe. Nobody in its neighborhood will be safe from being from having nuclear weapons pointed at them. Not Pakistan, not Saudi Arabia, not India. And Iran's geopolitical interests are in no way convergent with India's. India wants to be a, a force of stability in Asia. India does not want warfare and conflicts. Iran, on the other hand, has been itching for conflict for the past 50, for the since 1979. It's been embroiled in so many conflicts. Some are open conflicts, some are covert conflicts. So Iran, in a sense, engages in proxy wars everywhere. It behaves just like Pakistan has been behaving in Kashmir, in other places. So Iran and India do not have anything in common almost. The people of Iran are very nice. At the people to people level, we still share a great deal with them. But on a national geopolitical level, Iran and India have nothing in common. It is by no means a natural ally. The interests are very divergent. Right now in Iran, in the past 2 or 3 decades, Iran was trying to uh, cultivate a good relationship with India for the sake and sell oil to India so that it can get some money and some cash because it was desperately short of cash. But now that the Chinese influx has happened, which was bound to happen anyway, it has no more need for India. So we need to basically forget about Chabahar. We need to find other ways of expanding, of securing our long-term national interests. So this is how India should approach Iran. India should by no means see Iran as a trusted partner, as a geopolitical ally, or like Indians would say, a friend. Iran is not a friend. Iran is pursuing its own independent geopolitical ambitions. Currently, it is betting on China because it is desperate. There are too many sanctions. The Chinese are very happy to help out because it helps their geopolitical ambitions. So, like I said, their interests converge for the time being. How long will it last? Will it last? We don't know. The Iranians have basically sold out to the Chinese, and I wonder what price they will end up paying. So once again, to answer your question, Iran and India are not geopolitical, they are not natural geopolitical allies. Our interests don't align in any way. Iran has always supported Pakistan historically. And as we know, Kulbhushan Jadhav was abducted from Iran and he was handed over to the Pakistanis. So this again is kind of a backstab if you see the whole situation properly. So India and Iran can basically, to make it short, India cannot trust Iran.